you ever make anything happen? Anything you couldn't explain? You're a wizard, Harry.
I'm a what?
There's no such thing as magic.
Dear Mr. Potter, we are pleased to inform you that you have been accepted at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Wicked. Wow.
Do you know what is hidden in the school at this very moment?
The Sorcerer's Stone.
He's rather disagreeable, isn't he?
Harry!
The Chamber of Secrets has indeed been opened.
Terrible things are about to happen.
Mr. Potter will always be around to save the day. Don't worry. I will be. Take it away! Sirius Black has escaped from Azkaban prison.
You betrayed my parents. You're the reason they're dead. He was their friend!
Only one would die tonight.
Expecto Patronum!
The Tri-Wizard Tournament. For a series of magical contests.
I love when they do that.
Only one wins eternal glory.
People die in this tournament.
Who are you? What do you want?
The Dark Lord shall rise again. Things have changed.
The Dark Lord approaches.
He wants to build up his army again.
If Voldemort's building up an army that I want to fight.
It's your turn now.
We're forming some sort of wizard army.
I will have order! Sort of exciting, isn't it? Breaking the rules.
Look at me! You will lose everything.
Once again, I must ask too much of you, Harry.
Voldemort has chosen Draco Malfoy for a mission.
In my life, I've seen things that are truly horrific. Now I know you will see worse.
Take my hand.
Artis Tempus!
I have to do this. Fight back, you coward! Fight back!
It's over.
These are dark times, there is no denying. Our world has faced no greater threat than it does today.
I have seen your heart, and it is mine. He's after you, Mr. Potter. Tell me where he is. You really don't stand a chance.
I got him! Help me!
You've kept him alive so that he can die at the proper moment.
Bring him to me. If we find him, we can end this. Harry Potter, the boy who lived. Come to die. You'll stay with me.
Always.
Until the end. Let's finish this the way we started it.
Together!
Only I can live forever.
Hello everyone, Mr. Historican here, and welcome to the first day of my advent calendar. Now this day was always fluctuating with me, and I couldn't decide what I wanted it to be. And then I looked back and I found out that this is actually the 20th anniversary of Harry Potter. I figured, well, I'm going to celebrate Harry Potter. Harry Potter's been a part of my life, and I'm going to tell you a bit of history about the Harry Potter world. Not about the lore details, but kind of about how it became a staple of my life and everyone else's life. Let's start with that. We have to talk about Joanne Rowling. September 1999, she finally published Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone in the US. Now it was published by Scholastic, which was kind of a big deal, but Harry Potter actually released last year in the UK. So as for Americans, it's now the 20th anniversary. Joanne Rowling recently had many problems with her life. She was recently divorced, and well, she was a single mother, so she had a hard time making ends meet, had multiple jobs. So whenever she had the chance, she would write her book. She would mainly write it on the train ride and at a cafe known as the Elephant House, which is an amazing tourist trap now, which is prevalent for everything you have to do. Now, it wasn't a big deal at the time. It was actually sold at a little bookstores, not meant to be a huge deal or main attraction in terms of what they're trying to sell them. Now, they actually grew in popularity, and J.K. Rowling got the publishing from Scholastic to go international, and it came to the U.S., and there it was a hit. The film rights were eventually sold to Time Warner's, otherwise known as Warner Brothers, and they started making films starting in 2000 with Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Now, I'm going to talk about the books for a bit because it's kind of important to kind of mention a little bit history about each of the books because they're pretty interesting. Now, the next book was published the following year. It was actually released 20 years ago in the UK, but 19 years ago in here. It was Chamber of Secrets was released in the US in 1999. Chamber of Secrets is the sequel to Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, which followed a great mystery in Hogwarts past that will shape Harry. Now, this was a grand sequel. It took elements and introduced new characters like Dobby the House Elf and Lucius Malfoy. It also expanded the lore that we knew nothing about, proving that J.K. Rowling knew about this world. She thought about this world. It's a world that she wanted to experience, and it was amazing. Also, in the same year, we got Prisoner of Azkaban in the US. Now, this is when we started getting both the UK and the US released at the same time. Now, Prisoner of Azkaban shows the sequel, which shows Harry dealing with the murder of the person who squealed on his parents, Voldemort, who escaped from prison and believing that he is out on revenge on Harry. The one thing this book had over the other ones is not a Voldemort resurrection plot, which was pretty good for the first two. This one finally takes a step back and deals into a nice personal dilemma with Harry and introduces new spells, fan-favorite characters who everyone loves, and, well, time travel. The next book published was in 2000 with Goblet of Fire, which showed Harry going against dragons for the first time, going against mer people, and the resurrection of a dark evil. This was the first book that was published at the same time as the UK and the US. Well, not published, but released. It introduced new characters and it introduced a more gratifying tone that the character was going toward, which reflected the reader who's been reading these books and has aged with them. That's the one thing Harry Potter has that most other book series don't have. Where some book series kind of stay in one tone, like Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter is able to grow up with its audience. The next book wasn't published until 2003 with Order of the Phoenix, which showed kind of a more moody, teenagey Harry. The reason this book is believed that it was delayed is because J.K. Rowling was busy working on the films, which were filmed between 2000 and 2001. Both Chamber of Secrets and Sorcerer's Stone were filmed around the same time, so many believe that J.K. Rowling had to do this time to focus on the movies and then work on the books. Order of the Phoenix was released, and then the next one was Half-Blood Prince, which was released 2 years later, which took place in Harry's 6th year, where he must learn about the changing world and find out what the key is to defeating Voldemort once and for all. And to be honest, this book was released the same year. I had to think for a second. It came out the same year as Goblet of Fire did. Goblet of Fire, the movie, came out in 2005, and it kind of started a problem with the movies. As in that, I know you're going to say, what's the problem? Well, the books were still being published as the movies were coming out, and they started to catch up. And so it didn't really work for J.K. Rowling's storytelling. And it wasn't until 2 years later that J.K. Rowling finished Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, which was the epic conclusion to Harry Potter and was the biggest selling book of that year. I'm not going to spoil anything about these movies or books, because I believe that you should experience it for yourself, because they are great substance and great places to explore. Now, there's a problem with J.K. Rowling. Now, I know people are going to say, what's the problem? Well, J.K. Rowling's a great person, and she has become, actually, on net worth, one of the top 10 richest people of all time from her books and her royalties, which is amazing. I love her work. J.K. Rowling is amazing. But there's a bunch of common misconceptions that a lot of people get wrong, and I know what you're going to say. What's the misconceptions? Well, the rumor is that J.K. Rowling had a bunch of attention attached to the movies. That is not entirely true. In fact, multiple statements from the actors said they barely saw J.K. Rowling on set because, well, she was kind of writing the books when the movies were being made. And I hate to bring this up, but in an interview with Bonnie Wright, she said that she barely saw J.K. Rowling on set because she believed that J.K. Rowling was trying to focus on the book world instead of what was happening in that moment. And Bonnie Wright actually had indication that Ginny Weasley something was going to happen with Ginny Weasley. I love this series, and I'm going to start talking about my personal connections with it, and I know you're probably going to be like, well, what's your personal connections with Harry Potter? I started reading the books when I was 5. It was actually kind of a way I got to connect with my father, who I was kind of terrified at the time. But it really helped us bond. And not only that, but it helped me bond with my grandfather. Now, my grandfather died last year, and I know you're thinking, oh, that's a touchy issue. It is, believe me. But it helped us kind of connect. We gotta talk about. We watched the movies. It was great. One of my favorite memories is me, my grandfather, and my dad sitting and watching Order of the Phoenix, and it was amazing. It was beautiful, and one of my favorite memories I keep close to my heart. But let's talk about the movies and growing up during that time, because I was in a Harry Potter fanatic, because not only were the movies being released, but more the books were coming out. The books were coming out, the movies were coming out, so once you finished the book, you could actually go watch the movie. And it was pretty good. My favorite part was kind of watching like the inconsistencies and kind of growing up with these actors. Now, the main three everyone loved were Emma Watson, Rupert Grint, and Daniel Radcliffe, who played the titular trio. But everyone else undermined some of the other actors and so forth. It wasn't until 2010 that I was completely nerded out, and I think the whole rest of the world was, when Universal released the Wizarding World of Harry Potter and Islands of Adventure. This was huge at the time. It came with 3 rides: Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, the Dragon Challenge, and the Hippogriff Ride. I actually don't remember what the Hippogriff Ride name is. I know people are going to be like, oh, it's that, in the comment section below, but to be honest, I don't know. Now, this was huge. It actually boosted Universal's ticket sales and actually encouraged them to increase their prices and funded their future projects, which was amazing. This was amazing because actually J.K. Rowling actually, J.K. Rowling was pitched by Disney. Disney wanted the rights to Harry Potter in their theme parks, but they wanted to focus more on the books. J.K. Rowling wanted to be focused on the movies because the movies were in huge popularity and people want to see that. That she wanted to focus on the movies, and Disney didn't want to. So she went to Universal, and Universal said, of course, we would love to. And so that's what happened. So they built the park. It was a grand event. The actors showed up, and it was amazing. If you lived at Florida, it was a time to be a Harry Potter fan, and if you were a tourist, it was a time to realize, hey, gosh, go there. And if you're a kid, you're like, I'm going to save my allowance, I'm going to buy a bunch of crap. I don't mean that in a negative way, because I spent probably $1,000 there just one time. But anyway, the movies were big deal as well, with Sorcerer's Stone and Deathly Hallows Part 2 being the highest grossing films at their time, and Harry Potter actually changed cinema. I know you're going to say, how did Harry Potter change cinema? Well, with the Deathly Hallows Part 1 and Part 2. Now, movies don't normally split up into parts, unless you're talking about Back to the Future. But you can count that 2 is just a sequel and 3 is a sequel. They're not a connected story. Harry Potter each year is a story. And Deathly Hallows Part 1 and Part 2 are connected stories. Since then, every movie's been doing it because Harry Potter proved that it was a marketing genius. Because you got to split the final chapter into 2 parts, you got to explore the story a bit better. Now, Twilight started to follow this, which is the biggest problem, and also The Hobbit did. Hobbit split into 3 parts instead of 2, which kind of caused some problems with it. But my goodness, Harry Potter was such a phenomenon. Each movie came out, and we were going. When you were a kid, everyone would be like, "Oh, so who do you like?" And they're like, "Hey, I like Emma Watson. Emma Watson's pretty cute. I have a crush on Emma Watson." I always had a crush on Bonnie Wright. I thought she was beautiful, and everyone's like, "Ha, you fool!" It's true, I love her. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about my obsessive crush. But it was pretty cool. And in 2010, the Pacific Science Center in Washington released the Harry Potter exhibit, where they had props and everything else from the movie. And I went up with my family. You know, I was amazed. We stood in line for around an hour or so, and they did this event where they would choose kids in line, and you got to put the sorting hat on, and they would sort you into your houses. They would ask you first, like, what house do you want to be in? And people were like, oh, Gryffindor, oh, Slytherin, and I'm a Ravenclaw myself, and so I was up there, and I was like, what house do you want to be in? And I was like, a Ravenclaw, and then it's like, Ravenclaw! It's like, oh my goodness, it was amazing, and I just loved everything in the museum. It felt like it felt like glory. They had props, they had the huge Hagrid chair, they had the props, they had the magical creatures, they had the Quidditch stuff, and they had the mandrakes that you could pull out. It was an amazing time, and there was a lot of people there, and they were also re-showing all of the movies, and it felt like a real fan community. And you read in these newspapers about people who watch all the movies. It felt like something you were a part of, and it was amazing. Harry Potter was a highlight in most people's lives. Sadly, it did end in 2011. But J.K. Rowling has kind of been trying to catch up. J.K. Rowling has never said in interviews that she wants to abandon the world of Harry Potter. She just doesn't want to publish any more stories about Harry. I know a lot of people are going to say that's hypocritical because of Cursed Child, but I'm going to talk about Cursed Child in a bit. Now, back to the Universal Studios, they did release a second part, which was the Diagon Alley section in Universal Parks, not Islands of Adventure. Now, some of you are probably thinking, wow, that's pretty cool, and it did, because we also got the Hogwarts ride to connect the 2 parks. It was really cool because they actually include the Gringotts ride, Harry Potter and the Escape from Gringotts, which is based off Deathly Hallows Part 2, when they're breaking into Gringotts banks to steal the Horcrux. It was a fantastic ride. It's mainly filled with shops, but it's pretty good. The main thing I really liked about the Harry Potter attractions is the queues. The queues are pretty amazing. In the Forbidden Journey one, you get a lot of the classrooms, and they do mention Professor Binns, which made me happy. And the scenery is just amazing. If you go there, to the Harry Potter area, that's probably the first ride you want to go on. It's not as busy as it used to, which is kind of nice, but they're kind of building more attention towards the Harry Potter area with the light show and the castle, which is pretty amazing too. And also the Hippogriff ride, it's not as, the queue isn't as impressive, but you do get to see a Buckbeak staying there. Now, I'm going to talk about the Dragon Challenge, which was my favorite ride, which was based off of Goblet of Fire. We got to choose the 2 dragons, the Chinese Fireball and the Hungarian Horntail. it was pretty cool. I liked that queue the most because it had the Weasley card in it, and I was like, that was amazing, and honked and everything. They had a Tri-Wizard Cup, they had the Goblet of Fire, they had the bunks and everything. But sadly, in 2000, I want to say 16 or 17, they had to close the ride down. It was because of safety problems. And it was mainly because people weren't taking stuff out of their bags. They recently added metal detectors to kind of increase security around there, but it's mainly because stuff has been falling and people have been suing. So, they tore down the ride, which is such a shame because it was a great ride. Now, if you're going there, of course, you have to go to the shops at Universal. I would highly recommend going to either Honeydukes, which you can get some amazing candy. I get my chocolate frogs and my berry bots every time I go. You can go to Ollivanders, which is a pretty good show, and you also can go in the wand shop. It's pretty amazing, too. And make sure you get a butterbeer. The lines are always packed for butterbeer. Get the refillable mug. It's around, like, $15, but you get, like, a $3 refill, and you get a free soda, which is pretty amazing. I still have mine. It's pretty good. I prefer frozen butterbeer, and it's pretty cool. And you can always take the train ride over, which is amazing. The queue for that's amazing too. Both sides of it, both King's Cross, because you see the magic potion sign from I know there's a lot of ums in this statement in Half-Blood Prince, and it's pretty fantastic. You actually go in through the doors, and it is the most congested area. But the shops make it worth it. I definitely recommend going to Lee Cauldron or Hogshead for your meal, even though it is UK's food, and it's pretty good. But I highly recommend you go to the Nocturne Alley area because it's pretty chill in there and you'll find a place to sit. And go to the ice cream place because they have a really good butterbeer flavored ice cream, which I would highly recommend to anyone else. Now I'm going to talk about kind of what's been happening with the Harry Potter community recently. First I need to talk about Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. J.K. Rowling was originally going to release a trilogy of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, based off the textbook about Newt Scamander. That trilogy turned to a 5-picture deal, people. So J.K. Rowling has plans. Now, the most recent film to come out of this is The Crimes of Grindelwald, which has gained a bunch of bad critical reception, which is not deserved. I think this is probably the better Harry Potter movie. Well, not better Harry Potter movie, but it's pretty good in terms of Fantastic Beasts. It's not as critically or financially successful, but it is telling a side of the story that the Harry Potter books have hinted at, which is pretty grand. Now, we're going to talk about the Broadway show, too, which... don't make me talk about. Cursed Child finally released in... the screenplay actually released on July 31st, 2016, which is not only Harry's birthday, but also Neville's, but also J.K. Rowling's birthday. This was a screenplay that we're not quite certain is canon or not. The reason I say that is because the script is not actually written by J.K. Rowling, but it is based off some sort of story she's written. And a lot of people are not quite sure if it's canon or it's not canon. If you do read Cursed Child, I feel bad for you. And if you like it, I feel even worse for you. Because it's not the same story, and it doesn't feel written by J.K. Rowling. Now, it is being called fanfiction by multiple sources, and I can see why. It actually won a couple of awards, but it's just slowly dying out until it's kind of had a resurgence on Broadway, which is pretty great. Now, we also have to talk about Pottermore. Pottermore is kind of an interactive game that they released back in 2011, where we were able to dive deeper into the Harry Potter lore, and we got to find out more about her creative side, about like why she built these characters, why she wrote, and this has caused some controversy. Some parts are controversial, some are not. Now, the parts that are controversial are pretty mixed. There was one where it was about the Ilvermorny school, which is the U.S. school, which was introduced in Fantastic Beasts. Well, mentioned, not introduced. And a lot of people are saying, oh, there's a lot of problems with like the scalpers and the skin wearers. It's like, people, get a life. Okay, it's part of the lore. It's fantasy. Take it with a grain of salt. But she did release more books after Harry Potter. She released physical books of Tales of Beedle the Bard, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and Quidditch for the Ages. My favorite of the books is Tales of Beedle the Bard, and it's probably definitely worth your investment to read. I always have the first editions because they're pretty good. I just need to find my Fantastic Beasts. Not my Fantastic Beasts. I need to find my Tales of Beedle the Bard book. Now, Pottermore is pretty good. Harry Potter's kind of had a resurgence with the company known as Portkey Games. Portkey Games is the division that is busy working on Harry Potter games. Now, they are currently working on Harry Potter, The Wizards Unite, which is kind of like a Pokemon Go, which I think is kind of worth it because I will definitely play that more than Pokemon Go. But they also made the critically panned Hogwarts Mystery. I don't mind Hogwarts Mystery. It's kind of had a resurgence for me with the Niffler update, and it's pretty much worth it. But there is rumored, it was leaked a couple months ago, about a Harry Potter, not RPG, but action game, and I don't know if it's real. I really hope that they do reveal it. They reveal it at the Harry Potter fan convention, which happens every year at Universal, where people can see the props and they release exclusive items. So what's more to come from the Wizarding World of Harry Potter? I'm glad you asked. Well, they finally officially released the brand name. Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts is not just Harry Potter, it's Wizarding World, which they released the logo, and some fans are kind of out. And some of the other things that have happened for it is that, well, she's writing the third Fantastic Beasts movie as we speak, and there's going to be 3 more of those, which I'm actually looking forward to because Crimes of Grindelwald was pretty great for me. Back to my kind of personal experience, I've been a Harry Potter fan. I'm going to show you a picture of my Harry Potter collection. I've been building this since 2010, and I have more stuff that I just love, and I feel part of it. And actually, this year, I felt extremely honored. I felt extremely great when, at my local convention, I got to meet one of the actors for the first time, and that was Bonnie Wright. And it was nice to be surrounded by this community that was saying, hey, I got these signatures from Matthew Lewis and Daniel Radcliffe, and it was like, wow, that's pretty cool. It was an honor to meet Bonnie Wright. I'm including the picture in the video, but I'm going to pixelate my face because I really don't like my face on video. Now, we're going to kind of end this video off. This was a great time for me to just kind of talk and be like, hey, Harry Potter is very influential to people's lives, and it's nice to know that it's been going on for 20 years. I'd highly recommend that you get the Time issue, The Magic of Harry Potter, which is now officially off the shelves, but it's definitely worth the read. It's pretty interesting, and I have some pretty interesting numbers. I need to find the page, actually. There was a factoid called By the Numbers. I need to find it now. So I found the Harry Potter by the numbers in the book, and it's 8.3 million copies were sold of the, final book. Now the last numbers are that there have been 450 copies sold worldwide, 80 editions in translation, and the estimated value is $25 billion, and the amount they have grossed worldwide is $8.5 million. Now, before I get into the quotes by some of the actors about what it's been like to work on the films or how they got involved, I'd like to introduce this quote by Ronald Harold Bloom. He's a literary critic for Time magazine. He's actually a literary critic, and he was interviewed by Time magazine, and this is the way he said it. I loathe Harry Potter. Those books are hopeless and massively cliched, and bad thinking and bad writing. And they will vanish. In spite of all the hype and all the 120 million copies, they're bound for the rubbish heap in 6 years. Well, guess what, Harold? You're wrong. These books have continued to spark a fan base and a community. Harry Potter is what everyone wants to be. It's been helping us grow as people and become better friends because of this. Now I'm going to go on to some of about what some of the actors have said in this article about what it's like to work with in the Harry Potter, and I'm going to show a picture of the actors and what they said. So, thank you all for listening. Tomorrow, actually not tomorrow, I don't think it's tomorrow. No, Monday I'm going to do the next part, which is going to be, actually, no, it is tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to do a pretty, one that's going to be kind of out of this world. So, let's hit back and let's hear what some of the actors had to say about working on Harry Potter. A phone call with Joe Rowling contained one small clue persuading me that there was more to Snape than an unchanging costume, and even though only 3 books were out at the time, she held the entire massive but delicate narrative in the surest of hands. Alan Rickman. I'd already won a Ron Weasley lookalike contest in a newspaper, so I thought I'd give it a chance. Regret. I have never read a Harry Potter book. If you're an actor, all you have is the script you are given. If you read the book, you might get disappointed about what's left out. Michael Gambon. I feel very lucky. And please, when we were filming Harry Potter, social media didn't really exist. Bonnie Wright. In this business, it's so transorte. It's just 10 weeks here or there on a movie, and then it's over. But to see the same people over all the time, a decade, makes you feel really safe and secure. Helena Bonham Carter. Sometimes you can create a character off a real-life person, but often you create something out of yourself. As it turned out, I, very much, had a part in the way he looked. I found little physicalities in the role, and something always happened when I put those long, flowing robes on. That's when I felt like Voldemort. Ralph Fiennes. The important thing, obviously, is to tell the story as it was, because the children will soon let you know if you mess things up. Robbie Coltrane. A lot of very small people kind of used to say hello to me. One kid once said, "Were you really a cat?" And I heard myself saying, "Just pull yourself together." How could I have been? Maggie Smith. My granddaughter said, "Papa, I hear you're not going to be in the Harry Potter movie." And she said, "If you don't play Dumbledore, then I'll never speak to you again." Richard Harris. It's a bad idea to tell your 10-year-old to walk to me, because the poor child makes no connection with Mad-Eye Moody. He's looking at me saying, "Why am I being asked to talk to some stranger?" Brendan Gleeson.